On this episode of the Military Mindset for Business podcast, I'm talking to David New from Dyadic Consultancy. Now, we go down a bit of a old faithful 3RER memory lane, but Dave is someone who left school at 14, did his chippy apprenticeship, joined the military around 18, 19, had probably 5 or 6 deployments, did the full suite of Solis, Timor, Iraq, Afghanistan, Timor. So a real classic infantryman's career. But Dave has morphed and molded himself into a great business owner with Dyadic, where he supports businesses doing ISO certification and really helping you as a business owner be ready to win those big deals. So really cool chat, really great experience to go down and talk about 3RER and, mate, a really good story. So stick around and have a listen. David New coming up. Welcome to this episode of the Military Mindset for Business podcast. My name's Pete Liston, and this is the podcast for the veteran business community. Today, I've got David New here from Dyadic Consultancy. G'day, Dave.
Hey, how's it going?
Mate, I'm good. We've been playing a bit of tag on this one. Finally glad to get you here. I love to start these stories just by learning a little bit about you pre-military. Where did you grow up, and why did you join the army?
Good question. So I grew up in a suburb of Liverpool called Miller, probably considered low socioeconomic, housing commission house, 3 brothers, mum, parents split when I was young. Then we moved out to Campbelltown, got an apprenticeship as a chippy when I was 14, so I left school.
Yep.
And I don't know why I joined. It might have been the ads at the time, with the overture and that sort of stuff. But I think the ads were cool back then and made you want to join. So
Yeah.
I finished my apprenticeship and thought I'll do that for a bit to see how that goes.
So you finished your chippy first. So you're a qualified carpenter.
Yeah.
Mate, how much work do you do around the house and your own stuff, mate? Still got some skills?
No, it's been quite a while since I've done anything. I'd be closer to a butcher than a carpenter now, but I've still got enough to maintain things around the house, which is good.
Mate, I have a crack at maintaining stuff, but it doesn't mean I'm good at it. Like I'm like the 90% guy when it comes to home maintenance. So I'll do a decent job, but it's certainly not title polished.
Yeah, and half the time, you can always tell the mistakes you make in your own work. So I prefer not to do anything too big because if I make a mistake, I'll see it.
And obviously, your partner finds all the mistakes in all of our work anytime. So, mate,
Yeah.
okay. So Liverpool, I've spent a lot of my time in Western Sydney growing up. I actually grew up in Katoomba, but spent a lot of time in Penrith. Now Liverpool,
Riff.
similar kind of community, mate, out there at the Riff. But you're 14, you've done your chippy apprenticeship. For some reason, you end up down at Kapuka. What was that
Mm.
like?
I thought it was pretty cruisy.
Yep.
Coming from an apprenticeship to a place where one of the first things they tell you is they can't hit you. I was like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Because on the job site, they definitely can. So I was like, we'll just see what happens. And it was outdoors, it was active. It all seemed very straightforward. Just they wanted you to play a part in a play. So I just tried to play my part and let them play theirs. And I don't know, I don't think I really found it that difficult.
Did you sign up as infantry, or were you allocated infantry later?
Yes, one of my secret shames is I was actually a chop first.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, so Kapuka was pretty good because I was getting paid more than they were.
Yeah.
Uh, so I didn't have any issues at all there. But when I was down there, I actually asked if I could go full time. But that took a while, apparently, for the paperwork.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I knew I was going to go in. Girls down there quite liked it. Yeah.
So up to Singo, you do your whatever it is, 12, 15 weeks at Singo for your IETs. And then
Yes.
were you allocated to Old Faithful first up?
Yeah, so I got to Singo as part of Semichon, and out the time I think it was more well known as Smashershon.
What's Samashon, sorry?
Semichon was the name of the platoon, but they called it Smashershon because the sergeant actually came out right at the start and said that this is the last platoon before Christmas. And if we get you below a certain number, they'll disband it, and we'll get like an early Christmas.
Nice, nice. So, hey, welcome to our Singo.
Yeah, and I thought, that's a lot of fucking shit. And it was like not even day one; it was day zero. We just went for a run around to find out where everything was, and I think they go, yeah, on the left there's shop front, and some dude twisted his ankle and fell over, and it was like, we're like, that's the first one. I'm like, oh,
One
shit.
down already.
Yeah,
Morning
yeah.
one down.
And it was, I think we marched out with 14.
Yeah, right.
The school found out what they were doing and said, we don't care if you march out one person. We're not going to disband you. So, the beatings continued until morale improved. But
As they do.
yeah, but I think it was good. It was a formative introduction. And looking back, I think it probably was more difficult than the other platoons, but out the time, all you're going to do is not fail.
Yeah.
And then march out. They treated us well, you know what I mean? Like we got beers and pizza, and we blacked up the windows, and they got some entertainment in, and
Yeah.
so it was a good night, and three of us got sent to three.
Do you feel it was what was that moment like? Is that when you get your Skippy badge when you get out of
Yeah.
Singleton?
See, we got our Skippy badge. Normally they tell you what unit you're going to. I think they saved it until we got to the boozer.
Yep.
And they said there was only 3 spots available. And so I was like, oh, shit, I'm gonna have to like break someone's knee or something to fucking get down there if there's only 3 spots. I suppose not realizing that once they've done the allocation, they're just telling us that's the amount that's going down there. So I was one of the 3 that was going down. And yeah.
What year was this?
2001, 2.
Okay. So Timor's just kicked off.
So the unit was still in Timor when we arrived.
Gotcha. Now, I have had the real pleasure to serve at 3RAR as my first posting, not as infantry, as the RAMI or tech support platoon commander. I've got to have, with units and the ability to be able to just be a part of that unit and a part of that journey is something that I'm, super proud of. But let's talk about life of the infantry in the mighty old faithful. Para Wings, when did you get qualified?
Probably took about 10 to 12 months, something like that. Because when I first got there, it was Echo Company because the unit was still overseas.
Read details. Yep.
Yeah. So just fucking running amok as best we could without getting caught until the unit came back, and then we're worried because it's like, fuck, the unit's going to be back proper, you know what I mean? And I was put in Alpha Company the following year, and then it was probably mid to late year, I think I got down for paracourse.
Yeah. Were you qualified before the unit came back?
No.
So you had a bit of a crap hat lid phase?
Yeah, which I think's good, it's one of those things where there's always something more. Like once you get something, now there's the next thing you've got to get. Like you never finished, you never, there's always someone better with more knowledge, and you always got that journey to continue to get more. So I think that's good, and it gives you a bit of thirst. But yeah, it was really weird because I'd never been in a plane before I joined the army. So I was like, I wonder what this will be like. And I actually thought the mock-up that 3 had was a miniature version of a plane, not the actual size of the plane. So yeah, the paracourse was all fun up until the first jump. Because as you know, they take you up the town, drop you on pea gravel at 1 meter an hour. So it feels very soft. And then after my first landing, realizing it's not that soft. The next lot of jumps were not as enjoyable.
Hang on a second, look, we got to correct me if I'm wrong. The first time you took off in your life in a plane, you did not come back to the ground with the plane. You got out of the plane up top.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't think there's too many people in the world that got that worried to tell.
Yeah. It took about 9 or 10 times, whatever it was, before I finally landed in one. And I was all excited coming in to land in a plane. And
Yeah.
people were like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I've never
Hang on a
landed
sec.
before.
Not just the first time up, because when you're on paracourse, what you got the 8-9 jumps to do to get qualified. So the first 8 or 9 times you went up in a plane, you did not land with the plane.
Yeah. Had
Right?
no idea what that process was like.
Oh, so hang on. Were you nervous catching a plane the first time? Just like even being in a plane for the first time?
I
Let
think I was
alone knowing you're going to get out?
No, I was more worried I was going to get airsick
Yeah.
because I heard so many people throwing up in an aircraft and having to
Yeah.
throw up a helmet and put it back on, and whether or not it was true or not. So I was worried that was going to be me, and I'd never really been out on a boat before either, so I didn't even know if I got bloody boat sick. So
Yeah.
short of the ferries in Sydney. But yeah, so I never got airsick, which was good. And I just thought that's what planes were like. People running around with torches looking for leaks and whatever else they
And
might.
mate, I got to use the analogy, but like a dog returning to its vomit, mate. You've gone back to Holsworthy, which is only like a stone's throw from where you grew up.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're still kicking with the old mates on the weekend?
No, not really. Oh, yes and no. Like I suppose there was a bit of a mix. You know what I mean? But mostly just you're welcomed into that new family, and
Yeah.
um, some of them were integrated and some weren't. But no, all that period I thought was really good. It was. I think you have to be in a rifle company for a certain amount of time before you could go do a support company course, and
Yep.
so having that sort of all planned out traditionally just suited me, gave me something to work on.
Yeah.
So yeah,
What support company did you get?
Davis W.
DFW. Heavy fucking weapons.
Yeah, so for a small guy, why I chose a platoon with the word heavy in it, I don't know.
Mate, well, again, I've got to self-deprecate here. Is I spent my whole career at 3 as a non-qualified, para guy. Never got to jump. Every time I get an opportunity, that it was the new digger from the ready combat team that got bumped. And to be honest, it is one of my greatest regrets and greatest thanks at the same time. Like I would have been shit scared, to be honest. But I would have gone out, like you would have done it like everyone goes out. But some of the injuries, man, how did you go? How many jumps did you do? And how many, any bad injuries?
I mean, I, fuck all compared to others. I hated jumping, so I never volunteered. So I volunteered once when the guy given the speech. I just got caught up in a moment and fucking put my hand like a fuckwit.
It wasn't Jules Sherman Cornelia, was it?
No. And I think, I don't know what happened. Something happened and that did end up eventuating, but I only did the jumps I needed to do. So anytime I had to do it for pay and to jump into an exercise.
Yeah.
I think I worked out in that period, about every year and a half I was being deployed. So deployments, that took a lot of chance out.
Yeah.
And having to do a continuation jump before a trip, like once you found out you're on a trip, and then they're like, oh, you need to do a jump so you don't lose your pay. You were like, oh, please don't break something.
Don't hurt. Don't get hurt.
Yeah. So it was less than 20 that I did. I was only in the teens.
Mate, my first experience of anyone 3 RAR was my third class, I don't know what you call it, senior sergeant, but Frag Mahoney.
Oh yeah, Mahoney, yeah.
So he was my first association with what a 3RR NCO was like.
Was that down Belangolo?
That was down at Dundrum when we went out to Majura.
Yeah. And
he was our
a
third
company of 3.
What was that? Sorry.
Did you have a whole company of 3 helping?
Oh, I don't remember at that time, but he was actually internal Dundrum staff attached to third class.
Yeah.
So
no, he's good to go.
Yeah, he was good lad, mate, and like just showed me what an infantry warfighter was all about. So so he was the senior sergeant or warrant officer at the time, and GJS Cornelia was our senior instructor. So it was a in, introduction to three, and I was really wrapped.
Giles is a really fantastic officer.
Yeah.
Had him as CEO around the 2016 mark.
Yep.
Very softly spoken.
Deliberate.
Yeah, like everything he thinks and does is with extreme violence.
Yeah. Oh man, like I remember shooting what are they, a 66 on the range at Kapuka, not Kapuka, at Duntroon, and Giles was standing over my shoulder as a safety instructor, and I hit the target, and he's just like, "That's just fucking sick, man! You fucking destroyed it." And I was just like, I didn't know to be more scared of him than the and actually the weapon system. And when a quick worry about Giles, who's one of my personal heroes and mentors. I think he's a fantastic guy, but when we first marched into three, there was two other subbies, Luke Damon and Sam Thackeray.
Yep.
And there was the three of us, brand new subbies, first day. So we're in the mess, and it's like 10 to 7, and we've got to be at the Adger's office at 7 o'clock or something like that. So me and Luke, by 6:30, we're ready to go. Everything's done. And Sam's like, "Can't find my shirt. Where's my name patch or something like that?" He was missing something. Gets to like 1 minute to 7, and we're like, "Fuck, dude, go to the Adger's office in like 1 minute." He's just like, "Go, go, go, go. I'll see you up there in a second." So we march from the officers' mess across to the BHQ, which is only just around the corner. And we knock on Adger's door right on 7, and it's just like, "Enter." So we walk in, and Giles is there behind his desk, and he's just looking at us. He's like, "There's only two of you." And we're like, "Oh, yeah, good morning, sir." And he's like, "Gentlemen, we hunt in packs. Go get Thackeray and bring him back." And that was literally the first words spoken to me as "Welcome to Three Area." So, and I think it was just what a pivotal moment in terms of the way he thinks and the way that the unit worked.
Oh, he's got a brain size of a planet. He's
Yeah.
I mean, he's a brigadier at the moment. I think he'll go far, and I
Yeah.
think he does care about the men as well. Like
Yeah.
in the unit, someone ended up, not in a good way, and in hospital, and he devoted his time and attention to that person. Well,
Yeah.
it would have been easy to just go with the green, and that person would not have. They probably just would have been shown the door.
Yeah.
Later on, but that person was able to get back to the unit and deploy, all thanks to Giles.
Yeah. And it's people like Giles, and I don't want to blow too much smoke, and we'll move on. But one of the things that I really understood on self-reflection is army is all consuming. And for those people that deserve to be at the top, they sacrifice intensely and they give their all to the organization. And at the point of my transition, I didn't have that to offer, but people like Giles, man, that like they give. Let's come back to you. Tell us about some of your trips. So you did the full suite.
Yeah, so first trip was Solomon Islands. So I think that was over leave, and I was actually out on a job site. I was helping someone do something. I was on a roof. I get a phone call from Tyrrell,
Yep.
Major Tyrrell at the time, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to go overseas?" I'm like, "Yes."
Yes,
He's like,
please.
"Do I know where?" I'm like, "I don't care."
That,
He's
yeah, yeah,
like,
that
"Cool."
when now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, my son's just coming in. Can you just give me 5 minutes, please? So uh, I was like, "Yeah, do you need me now?" And he goes, "No, no, no, it'll be, in a couple of weeks. I'm just getting numbers, putting bums on seats." But he said people had said no, like, because they thought that coming off leave and they didn't want to. And I think maybe they thought it was a
Oh,
G up.
yeah.
Um, but it was when the copper got shot over in Solomon, so we went over to bolster security and provide protection.
Yep. So that was
Um,
trip one. What, about
yeah,
2002-ish?
yeah, I think it was three.
You're still private?
3 or 4, something like that. Yeah. So
Yep.
it was good. It was a interesting introduction to deployment.
Yeah.
Insofar in the fact as, we went through all our stuff and got there. We're intense. It's a tropical region that's constantly raining. So, you're using figure 11s to make stuff to try to keep dry and
Yeah.
all that jazz. But the federal police and whatnot, they're all in the dongers and hot showers and all that stuff. And they didn't like us and want us there. And, you could tell that there was that division. So that was an interesting thing. But then also learning that, you're there to do a job. Because a lot of the riffraff we had to deal with, a lot of the politeness needs to disappear when you need to do the job. So
Yep.
I think it was a good introduction in a lower threat environment to be able to cut your teeth on that. Like if you make a mistake there, it's not so bad.
Build some of those fundamental soldier skills for deployments yet to come.
Yeah, definitely.
So Solis first, where was next?
2006 tour.
To Iraq. Yep. Now this was the first war. Oh, well, sorry, go back. Technically, those initial Timor trips in effects and that were warfighting deployments, but this was just one company of 3 to Iraq, I believe.
Yeah, so my memory is pretty atrocious, but the security detachment was based on infantry company.
Yep.
And during the year, we were a support company.
Yep.
And support company generally doesn't deploy because you're a support company there to support the others. But, Tyrrell and the rest of the support company, we all did our thing and we were able to prove that we were the better company. So he was then able to say, listen, we can send a group of people overseas and maintain capability back home.
Yep.
So we were able to send support company, which was good. And then, all the other attachments we had, the MPs, we had CAV, SIGs, the various, attachments we needed for it. Tyrrell was good. He just goes, listen, if you're ever in doubt with who's in charge, it's me.
Yep. Makes it
As
simple.
the OZ. Simple.
Sector, were you guys now mounted infantry in Bushmasters or a lot of dismount stuff?
That was ASLABs.
ASLAVs. And primary role is to fancy taxi service around Baghdad?
Pretty much. Yep. So
Yep.
it was sort of split into two. And so we maintained security of the embassy and also provided that security movement support to the DFAT.
Mate, an important moment for 3RAR, and talk about it as much or as little as you like. But I just want to shout out and remember Jake Kovko from that deployment. Tragically lost his life on that trip.
Yes.
What was it like from your perspective being there?
That was, yeah, so I was on Rockall at the time, and I got a phone call from Tua and told me. And at the time, I was like, fuck, I wish I was like, you want to do something. But the way that it happened, there was no one to attribute blame to. There was no one to go after and hunt and, seek revenge, I suppose, as it were. But looking back, I think it was a good place for me to be because I actually got to be there for the funeral.
Back in Australia.
Yeah. So I think that provided some closure. Personally, though, I think it was a bit weird because on my trip to Solis, we lost Jamie Clark.
Yeah. So you were on that trip as well.
Yeah, and then when this happened, I was like, am I some sort of fucking bad luck moment? Which it was just, yeah, like every trip had something. So I was acutely aware that the realities of what we were doing. So even in something as low as Solomon's right up to Iraq.
Yeah.
And I think the I think it also unfortunately gave me a view of defence and um, the legal proceedings that followed that, and how much, to the extent that which defence itself would go to protect itself at the expense of the other members as well. And, you know, people, there was all sorts of weird stuff coming out of the media at the time. The platoon commander shot him because he didn't want to go on patrol, and all sorts of other conspiracies to try to, I don't know, I suppose, fill the void. So I think defence was a bit greater, you know, about how to deal with it. The process of repatriation obviously clearly wasn't practiced and robust as what it needed to be. But then when the Board of Inquiry started, they really, in my view, just attacked every possible avenue, even in despite of evidence. I think to be able to say, hey, look, we've exhausted every avenue.
You feel it was a bit of a witch hunt to those who may have been close or like in the vicinity of Jake when it happened?
Yeah, I think, again, in my opinion, I don't necessarily think it was a witch hunt like they wanted. Like, I don't think they believed that one of his mates did it.
Yep.
But I believe they wanted to exhaust every avenue to the very end as much as they could. And the toll I saw it take on his mates, you know, his diggers being forced to leave the deployment to go to court, and to have questions like, I put it to you that you shot him because you didn't like the music.
Man.
And not prepare them enough for that.
Yeah. And, you know, ultimately, you know, as far as I know, in both instances, just two terrible tragedies, you know, non-enemy combatant related, just two terrible tragedies where two lads got killed, two great lads got killed.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're both good dudes. That's the other thing. It's like every time everyone always goes, oh, you know, these were good guys. But we all know people that are not good people. And
we say it.
You would like to think that the slugs and the fucking jack pricks are the ones that would suffer.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it seems to be more the opposite way. And, you know, both of them are good dudes, especially, you know, you look at what Jamie's parents and family are doing in the Sollies, and they continue to do it to this day. Yeah, it's, like I said, it was just a tragedy, and that opened my eyes a bit more to how the organisation works.
Mate, life of infantry. Now, Iraq, what's your next trip?
Timor?
Timor? Was that TLBG4?
Hard to say. I'll have to look up my record of service.
Mate, that might have been the one that I went on.
Yeah, I did too. There was like a short one, and then there was the longer one, and I did both of them.
I remember being in battalion headquarters one day, and Ramos Horta had just been shot, and Giles again came out and he's like, gentlemen, we're going to war. And Alpha Company, I managed to have the privilege to watch Alpha Company deploy in basically 24 hours. So I think that happened about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I remember, I think it was Andrew Barge and his company, and John Wick, Ed Cousins. Sorry for not remembering the other lad that was there. But basically, they were just like, we're off. And the soldiers at about, I think they pulled everything out onto the parade ground for a DP1 check. The soldiers were told to go home for 3 or 4 hours, and we'll see you back on the parade ground at 4 o'clock in the morning because you will deploy tomorrow. And again, just being a fly on the wall and watching that process, and, you know, hitting home about, you know, that company, go home, say goodbye to your wives and kids, and be back here tomorrow because that's it. And they did a long trip because they went early, and then the battalion ended up joining them, I think, 2 months later, and then did the full deployment. So they had a nice little bonus 3 months extra.
Yeah. It was, and I think looking back, like, because we were always online.
Yeah.
because of the parachute ready good, um, and the company and that sort of stuff. So it was weird when, and obviously later on we'll get to it, when Tree joined the rest of the army and the brigade back in Townsville and saw how the rest of the army worked. But I think, we were isolated down there in our own little world,
Mm.
but we were constantly rehearsing that.
Yeah.
So when that happened, it was like, oh, it's a Tuesday.
Yeah.
We're getting stuff out on the fucking playground, holding shit up, checking the
Yeah.
fucking CP1 folder.
Yeah.
Except
Millbank
this time we need
filter.
to sign everything because we're actually going overseas.
Yeah. Everyone got
Yeah.
the Millbank filters just in case?
Yeah. And I think we had that culture, which was good. So everyone just sort of did it. But there were people that were just like, they rocked up to work and then didn't go home because their partners or whatever were out work. So they just turned up to work and then went overseas.
I see you in Rockall in 5 months' time or
Yeah, yeah.
so that Timor trip was a rather quiet trip relative to Iraq, security operations at best, not a lot of violence in the country.
Mm.
But you've got more trips still to come.
Yeah, so I did. I'm trying to remember which Timors were what. But I did go, probably one of the more memorable ones was when I was 2IC.
Yep.
That was with Charlie Company. I think before that, I was a digger and I was attached to Bravo. Um, that was an interesting trip when I was the digger, I think. So I was fortunate enough, I think I was that good as a Lance Jack. I got 2 Lance Jack certificates. So they gave me 2 cracks at it. Um, and, to sort of add salt to the wound in between those 2 times, I think that trip I was a digger and I just got made the gunner or whatever I was. And so I relished in the fact that I was not 2IC and made that 2IC's job that little bit more difficult. So shout out to Marso. Um, But yeah, I remember breaking a 4-wheel drive over there and being a sort of a logger, you'd appreciate it. But we had to go out to this spot, this outpost, and take over from another unit. It was like one Torio or something, and they had it. They're like, listen, be careful, it's a fucking dodgy car. There's some, I'm not a fucking mechanic, but the widget in there, you need it nursing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like, yeah, not a problem. And we nursed it like we were on a fucking rally race.
It's like, I got
Um,
this, mate. I got this. I know how to
yeah,
drive this. I
yeah,
know how to drive.
yeah. And the widget broke, the steering wheel spun, and we slammed it into a fucking rice paddy wall.
Nice.
Um, so I think we did some Bushman mechanics. We found another dead car somewhere and did something with some tie wire and a bit of hoochie cord and black tape, and we nursed it back. But they sent some fucker in from Canberra with like a laptop, like one of the vehicle Gestapo people.
To do an
And
investigation.
yeah, and the vehicle was now up on a hoist, and he had a PowerPoint with like red circles around it. It was like, do you know what that is? I'm like, no. And he goes, it takes so much kilonewtons of force to break that. Do you want to change your story? I'm like, no.
No.
And he kept digging. My Sarge was looking at me out at the time, and I sort of realized that was not going in Newey's favour.
Yeah.
So I thought it's time to put on the tap shoes. And I just went, well, listen, I hope this does go further because the crew that we took over from did say that they reported that there was issues with this vehicle and that it was to be nursed. And despite our best efforts, it still broke. And whilst it went into a wall, there are many bridges we crossed that we could have went into
Yeah.
and then died and drowned. So I'd be very interested to know why their warnings about a substandard vehicle wasn't listened to.
Classic block and deflect. I love it.
Yeah. And I remember he looked at the sergeant, he looked back at me, he closed the laptop and he left, and nothing further was ever said.
Mate, it's like a retreat, retreat. Well
Yeah,
played.
yeah, yeah,
Classic
yeah.
block and deflect. Matt Mosley would love that one.
Yeah, it's and it was, I think Timor was good because once again it was like solos, you could cut your teeth on some of that stuff.
Yep.
So you're gonna you're gonna come up to people that do not want to do what you need to do, and you need to start applying some force. And I noticed on later trips when the stakes were higher, the group that I had, because they hadn't been deployed before, I think we're a little bit more cautious about handling locals.
Yeah.
Whereas at least in Timor, you can get over that.
Was this in, are you implying Afghanistan?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
What
me and
year
my
was
two
your
IC were the
Afghan
only
trip?
ones that had deployed, and every time we're like, get everyone off the bus, they're like, oh, they don't want to. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. You're the one with the guns. Get them the fuck off.
Yeah. Get off. What are we, the 3 hour trip? I'm thinking 2012, 13, maybe.
Yeah, so we were meant to do, I think, 2010, 2011, something like that. But apparently the government decided that it was more important that we moved to Townsville.
Yeah. There was that classic 3 hour cartoon of Afghanistan and pushing on the door when it's pull.
Yeah.
Like the battalion just, apart from the RTF 4, I think it was, which was another support company element in maybe 2008, the
Mm.
battalion just kept missing the trip.
Yeah, it was the first time I seen people throw full cans at the CO. The
Mm.
RSM had to protect him on the way out because he told us that we lost the trip, we lost our wings, we can't weather Bahrain and move into Townsville.
Yeah.
And I thought,
Gut punch.
I was like, the building, like the shack is going to get burnt to the ground. Like
Yeah.
this is fucking chaos and shit.
The Shat
But
is a 3 RAR Diggers Boozer. Man, that what a night that must have been.
yeah, yeah, like even mates over at Tudo were like, what the fuck's going on over there? What's happening?
Yeah.
And they came over thinking we're going to burn it down as well, probably trying to egg us on a bit. But um, you know, to their credit, they held the unit together. Did a whole bunch of drug deals in the background, and the next trip, 2012, we got it, and
Now what's this like now? The culmination of warfighting experience. The battalion lost members on that deployment. What was your role over there?
yeah. So the whole build up to that was interesting. It was so we were going to Afghan. As you said, there were some small elements of three that had previously deployed to backfill spots with one or two, which they done a sterling job over there. We knew 6 RAR were providing the movement song, but there was a lot of confusion at the time. There was political things going on, so the ALBAT, the numbers, everything was constantly changing. You were training for something one day, then that would come out, not that whole course sign off the trip. So that was a little difficult. And we were all like, well, no one's there until you got sand in your boots because no one knows what's going to happen. There were some elements from 6 that had previously been and wore the brunt, the whole brothers by choice thing. So, they had their view of how it was going to be based on their previous trip. But it had been like 3 or 4 years since they had been. So a lot of the advice, while good, may not have been current. I think they felt a bit, a bit taken back that perhaps some of them weren't being listened to as much. I know in the company I was with, in Charlie Company, I was the satellite patrol, the protection for the mentors,
Yep.
which was my boss inside. So their job was just to do the mentor, and we'll provide security for them. And that can be broken down into bricks. We had a group of engineers attached, and we would do that either mounted or dismounted. And the 6 RIRDs would provide the mounted support. But trying to understand how we were going to operate and what we were going to do, there was some confusion around that, even during the pre-deployment phase. And I think it wasn't until the end that things started to become clear from battalion to company to the mentors to me how that process would work. But our pre-deployment was also mixed in with Opie Trophy as well.
Yep.
So what was good, Trent Scott was an absolute outstanding CO. Once again, brain the size of a planet, a smaller guy, probably more confrontational than Giles.
Mm.
And the rumor was, because I've spoken to him since, was he had a photographic memory because he wouldn't take a lot of notes. And the admin OC had decided to get things ready for an activity.
Yep.
And loaded up some mobs. And then so in a meeting when they were like, and the CO's like, I want all of the men moved up here at this time. He's like, we can't move that. And he's like, why? How many does a mog hold? This. So move them. He's like, I've got we've filled up with defensive stores. And he's like, well, I didn't tell you to do that. And he's like, you can unload those defensive stores and you can move them. And he tried to, I suppose, get some helpers. And he said, no, you got yourself into this mess, you can get it out.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, just very, he was a very straight shooter. All he wanted to do was extreme violence towards everybody.
Yeah.
And I think overseas he was hamstrung by those above him. There was a lot of times when we'd get into contact and the initial call was go forward, and then a minute or so later it was now pull back.
This is a real challenge for infantry at that time. It's sort of felt for me as an observer that we almost didn't trust the regular infantry battalions to do the warfighting job that they had proficient and trained so long to do.
Yes.
I can only imagine the frustration on the ground. But if I can ask, and I just want to, just recognize the names, Rick Milosevic, Sapper James Martin, and Private Rob Pote that were killed on that trip. Do you remember that day, 29th of August? Were you there?
Yeah, so I suppose Charlie Company was fortunate. None of the green on blues, none of the incidents happened in our company. Which, chatting to mates that were out the other FOBs, and hearing what they went through. I'm sort of glad I wasn't having to carry that afterwards.
Yep.
But we definitely remember we were just keen to get out and get the guy, because obviously he took off. And everything was ramped up. Like, every effort was made to get this guy. Like, it was, we're talking all the force elements, everybody. And what was interesting and what I didn't know at the time until we did another really big operation later on in the trip, our compound was completely different to how the others were. We had the FOB, they were separated from their A&O.
Yep.
Like a physical barrier, a wall, where we weren't. We were intermingled. It wasn't until a mate came out and was like, you're fucking like living with them.
But hang on, like intermingled with the people that you're fighting with on a daily basis, trying to teach how to fight, it seems like a bit of a no-brainer.
Yeah. So, two people on picket, one watches out, one watches in. It's heavy. And I think at the time, by that stage it all been, however many years, I suppose I was just a stereotypical second. And, my job was just to maintain standards and sort of keep them going. And I suppose at the time I didn't realise how heavy that impact could be on the guys at the time, that, not only are you worried about the threat from the front, but, the green on blues from behind. It was,
Mate, a modern day infantryman's career, right? Nearly went to everything that was happening, Solis, Iraq, Timor a couple of times, Afghan.
Yeah,
Just like an amazing, like hats off to you for an amazing, infantryman's career. When you get
very.
to the point, yeah, mate, I want to switch across to Dyadic and what you're doing now. But when do you come to the point here of, look, enough's enough, time to get out, time to transition, time to do something new?
Yeah, good. I think like most, grunts, that would have gone through similar stuff. And probably most AJs in general, I would say, if you're passionate about what you're doing, you've been putting in all that effort. I was shown the door mostly. It was by that stage, I was now, a WO2. I was a training WO down at Tassie, which is a great place. I
Yep.
fucking, all I've done is ever ragged on people from Tasmania. And then when I got down there, this place is awesome. But, something happened in my fucking shoulder. So it needed surgery. And, I was penciled in to go back to 3 as a CSM, which is what I wanted.
Yeah.
But, after, 21 years, I looked at it and went, it's going to take me 12 months to recover from the surgery and then probably another 12 months to get to where I believe I should be as a CSM within
To lead your soldiers. Yeah.
to be able to go forward. And I'd already had spinal surgery and a whole bunch of other surgeries. I was the one now held together with black tape and zip ties. And I
The
said,
body keeps the score, mate.
yeah. And I was like, maybe this is it. Maybe I should just like let the process happen. And I think at that time, I'd spent, I think 6, 7 trips. I'd been married, separated 5 times. So 5 postings I had gone away from the family. So you add that.
Just from those out there, that doesn't mean 5 different women 5 times. It means married, separated, like you've moved away from your family to serve the army and serve the nation 5 times.
Yeah, in a different location to where they were.
Yeah.
So
Enough's enough.
yeah, she was a single mum for all the deployments and then those 5 other times.
Yeah.
And I think it was just at the point where it's like, maybe I'll try this weird thing about telling the truth to the doctors. We'll just see what happens. And
You're opening yourself up for a world of pain there. God forbid the truth. The truth will set you free, they say, mate. So maybe it was the truth that set you free from the army.
yeah, and do you know what? It was a weird thing because on one hand I felt jacked.
Yeah.
Because I now can't do things because they're finding out all the little niggles and this, that, and the other. And they're like, we're fucked. Like, why haven't you told us this sooner? It's like, because then you stop me doing things that I want to do.
Because I'm an infantryman and what I do is I crack on.
Yeah. So they said, yeah, so you can either become a clerk and still be restricted up to the eyeballs.
No deployments, can't deploy again.
Can kick you out. And I was like, just kick me out.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And what was really good and what I was fortunate about, and whether it was a rank thing or I think it was more the unit. Because at the time I was in 1240 down in Tassie. My family was in Townfoot. 3RER said, we'll take the burden of managing him and his exit, which was really good because they were sorry.
And this is real. This is
Still got to do
you
dad
leave the
things.
army to actually do family life stuff.
Yeah, but do you know what? When all that happened and I'm out and I started doing family things, I realized how much I missed.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot. And I don't regret it. It's given me everything, good, bad, or otherwise. And I wouldn't change anything. But I did miss a lot.
Mate, let's get over to Dyadic.
Yeah.
What is Dyadic, first of all? And
Good.
what do you do?
So when I was out Wonko,
Yep.
teaching people to become a corporal on their subject 1 corporal course.
Up at Canungra there, was it?
No, I was in Sunnytown.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Again, interesting dynamic dealing with. I'd never met a Bodie before until then. what an awesome career as a secco, cruising around in a boat with a 50 cal, left
Hey,
alone.
so
I didn't
good.
know Army trusted their corporals that much, but apparently they do. Met a guy from 2 Commando who was posted there as a corporal, and we were both doing degrees in the army,
Hmm.
and it was to do with business. I got a business degree. He got some other business degree, and then around the transition time, he was transitioning out, I was transitioning out, and we kept in touch. I spoke to another guy from 3, old Stuart Locke, who started Krieger Industries.
Hey, yeah, absolutely. Great
Yeah,
veteran
yeah, yeah.
business.
And in a typical digger way, he's like, mate, you got a fucking business degree. I need this ISO shit. Can you sort
Yeah.
it out? And I'm like, I have no idea what you're on about, mate. And so I looked into it and I was like, listen, it's a thing. It's a whole separate thing. It's not something I can just jazz up for you in the time that you need it. And I think you paid something like $36,000 for that just to get
Hmm.
ISO 9001. So me and the business partner at the time, um, Andrew, we were like, maybe that could be something we could do. We'll just cap it at like 20,000 and that will be our job. You know what I mean? And help diggers get their solutions to the operators, the end users. And it sort of just morphed from there. So that's how it started. And so we started dyadic, which in psychology, a dyad or a dyadic relationship is the smallest relationship you can have. It's the relationship of 2, dyad, triad. Um, and, we form that relationship with our client. So that's where the name sort of come from. How we found out about the word dyadic is a lecturer used it, and we were both taking the same subject. And we
Oh,
both
that's
had
a
to
cool
pause.
word.
Yeah, we both had to pause the fucking thing and go, what the fuck is he talking about? And then, so we were using the word dyadic for everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the rate of advance in open for a section? Very dyadic of you. So we used it out of context. It gave us a laugh. Um, but, then we took that forward with our, we can solve anything attitude.
Yeah.
Um, and it just sort of morphed from there.
Not bad for a bloke who left school at 14, mate, with all of that good learning and stuff.
Yeah. And when I got out, so I started my master's, sat on an entrepreneurs board. I also run defense industry networking. So
Yeah.
DIN in Townsville, they've got over like something ridiculous members on LinkedIn. And that's a volunteer thing.
Yeah.
So once a month, I go to a pub. People in defence industry can turn up if they want. They have a beer and a yarn and network if they want. So there was a lot of things happening as I was transitioning.
Yep.
And I think the message was like, hang on a minute. I've seen other people leave the army and do nothing and take up a hobby like picking steaks and
Go
whatever else
fishing.
they do. But it's not me, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
And I think this is super important too, because that next chapter is and what your purpose is. And just coming back to dyadic, one of the lessons I had, early on is the sophistication or the maturity of the business opening up bigger doors and bigger opportunities. And this is one of the things we're really interested with a VBC, veteran business community perspective, is how do we as a community, rising tide floats all boats kind of mentality, help our community win bigger jobs, bigger contracts, more mature and more established relationships with corporate Australia. And ISO in particular is a fundamental part of that framework of proving that your business is of a certain quality and ready to procure from. So tell us a little bit about, if you don't have ISO right now, what are the advantages of going through an ISO certification process?
yeah, so it's one of those things. I think when I started, I didn't appreciate it as much, but going to all of the trade shows and that sort of stuff, and having sort of around that veteran community that sort of exists out there, which I think, with VBC will help harness. A lot of people talk to each other, but it's all personality based.
Mm.
I was fortunate enough to be introduced to people and helped out by some in that community with the rising tide lifts all boats thing. But 100% ISO was one of those things where they, big business, when I would speak to them, so the likes of Boeing and, a lot of other large companies want to work with veteran businesses, but everything's risk-based. And one of those is ISO, because that is a international third-party certification to a standard such as quality, environmental, health safety, AI, cybersecurity. There's a whole range of them out there. So it de-risks your business for them to work with you.
It's quite simply, to put it another way, like a confidence or assurance badge of honor, that if you've got this, you've exposed your business to an external third party to look at your processes, to look at the way you do business, and they have given you a definitive tick to say you're good to go in this field. And if you have that tick, you're elevating yourself, you're making a clear point of difference to your competitors about you are quite simply a quality organization.
Definitely. And it's, I tell you, it's an expensive process. As we said, Craig had to pay further $6,000.
Yep.
And then there's the ongoing fee. So every year that third-party certification body that you've paid the money to send people like me to kick the stones over and have a look every year and check how you're going.
Now, there's two parts of this, right? There is getting ISO ready, and there's getting yourself into a position that you can be audited. And then there's the separate auditing process. Now, you'd be conflicted if you did both. So you and Dyadic can do one or the other. Is that right?
So Dyadic only does the helping the businesses get ready and implement those processes and systems so that the certification body can come in and give you the tick. NUI contracts to certification bodies to go and audit. So I've got a certification body hat, and then I go out and audit. What I can't do is help, NUI's nuts and bolts, get ready, and then put the certification body hat on and audit NUI's nuts and bolts.
No self-reach rounds here, mate. You got to
no.
You got to have that level of again, assurance and visibility. Now,
and the transparency. There can't be conflict of interest. You don't want the perceived conflict of interest. But what it does do is it keeps my finger on the pulse and the trends in what's happening out there, so that I can then bring that back to the organisations that I help with today.
So, what kind of organisation should speak to you guys about understanding whether ISO is the right path? Because it is a significant investment. Like you mentioned that Krieger, it cost them serious coin, and that's serious cash flow that you got to find out of your operating expenses to hopefully win a deal. Doesn't even mean you won the job yet. Tell us about your, let's say, discovery process, that if someone was interested in, like, number one, is ISO right for them? What do we go? Where do we go from here?
Yeah, and I'll bring up a bit of a topic as well that maybe we can sort of touch on towards the end, but it is weird. It's just a chat. If anyone's got anything, and that's why I just tell people, give me a call. We can do a Zoom and we can go through and actually find out why they think they need it, what's their organisation doing, what's their goals, and that sort of stuff. And I've got a business degree and some postgrad, but it's problem solving and being exposed in the defence industry, which is my main focus and interest. And I have extended that to any organisation that can enhance any tier of governance, sovereign capability. Basically, I like helping little guys, but it can be a one-man band right up to a multi-million-dollar company. I've helped all of them. And it's just having that discussion, and it's a strategic decision, as you said. A lot of the time people go, hey, I sell toilet paper. I want Defence to buy my toilet paper, but I need 9,001. And I'm like, I can get you all 9,001 in your toilet paper. because they will contract through Cushman and Wakefields or,
Mm.
Venti, or there's going to be someone else that defense is getting all of that stuff through. You need to find out who that company is.
Mm.
And so that other company may be able to absorb the risk, depending on what it is. So we have those sorts of
Yeah.
discussions and come up with it. And then if they've got no processes, procedures currently in place, then it's like, well, if you're not in a hurry, don't pay me a lot of money. Like, I like money, I like not starving,
Not
but
bad.
you can start chipping away at this yourself, and it will make it easier in the long run.
And I think this is really the unique thing that you offer, not only veteran-owned businesses, but any of your potential clients, is not only to find out. So it's not about just grabbing the cash and getting you ISO'd. Number one, to be able to go through a process of, number one, is ISO right for you? Then number two, the timing of ISO.
Yeah,
And even if that timing is not 6, 12, 24 months away, you can start working them to get ISO ready. So it's not as dramatic shift when the time comes. But ultimately, it's a great thing for people to do, because it's about quality and systems improvement.
yeah,
And that is never wrong and never bad in a business, no matter what.
yeah. Like, I always ask them, have you got a business plan? I'll be like,
Yeah.
yes. When's the last time you looked at it? And then
Yeah.
there's crickets. And I'm like, cool, you need to look at that, because ISO is all about understanding your business. You need to be able to have those answers. And you're quite right. Asking the questions can sometimes give them the answer. So when they say, my current process is this, what? And we're like, well, I don't know. Okay, is
Yeah.
there a better way to do it?
Ah,
When you decided to do this process, has anything changed? Oh yeah, the industry is completely different. So
I
do
love
you
that. That simple question. And it's one things that I use in my business is like, so what's next?
yeah, just so
In,
what
in nearly
understood.
anything, any time any team member comes up with something, it's just like, so what's next?
Just good, absolutely.
So I think, regardless of where you are and what you do in your business, having a chat to you about, number one, the greater opportunities that ISO can provide for you when it's the right time, but even just a chat about, the quality and systems and process about what you're doing is never a bad spend of time.
100%. And it is about that. It's not about having a system or a policy or a procedure for the sake of it. I try to use the same, what's the minimum height to ride?
Yeah.
If ISO was a roller coaster, we want to get you on the roller coaster, but I don't want to burden you with a 10,000 word fucking document if I can put it into a process flow picture.
Because you can actually overburden yourself by over processing things. And I was
Yeah,
having a chat to someone recently about practicable approaches, and what is, the right thing to do at the right time, because you literally cannot do everything.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is the approach we go through. So if it is something that they need, then it's how we're going to do it. Am I
Yeah.
doing, all 5 phases of this to get them ready? Are we going to build it brick by brick? Um, and that's going to be different for each organization. But generally, how I work is there'll be some form of gap analysis.
Yep.
So I can find out where they are, where they need to be, how we're going to get them. Then there's generally um, the construction of the documentation and the processes, which can take time because I don't know every business.
Yeah.
If you make widgets and I've never seen a widget before, I'm now going to co-author with them how these processes and how it's going to work.
Mate, can I ask you a question?
Yep.
Let's just say you've got a short-term opportunity to win. So business owner, short-term opportunity to win a decent sized contract. What
Yes.
is the realistic most shortest time that you could get ISO certified? Because it's not going to happen in a day, a week, or even a month.
No. So I suppose there's two parts to that. We know that winning work takes time. So
Yep.
there might be stuff needs to be in by a certain date. There's a review period and there's a few other milestones. If that first milestone is short, what we can do then is I can introduce the client to some certification bodies. They choose which
Yep.
one they want. The certification body can write a letter, depending on the certification body, stating that they have been engaged by that organisation,
And the process is underway.
and the process is underway by Dyadic Consultancy, and
Yep.
that they expect by X point in time that they'll be ready to go through the certification process.
Got it. So now, as the
That
business
can
owner,
work for some. If it's not, and it's like, just how quick can it get done? Then if I get in there and they give me everything I need and they can throw time, resources, and the money at it, once they've got everything, and let's just say that all of their policies and procedures are now perfect, fit for purpose, the certification body needs to see evidence.
Yeah.
Now, that is going to depend on the organisation and its risk. If you were dealing in things like medical devices, they would probably want to see more evidence over a longer period of time.
a track record of performance, not just a policy.
Exactly. If you just make paper cups, for people to drink coffee out of, they might be happy with 1 month's worth of evidence of this new management system that you've now got.
Got it.
But the certification process is breaking down into two parts. There is a stage 1 and a stage 2 audit. The stage 1 is where they review all of your documentation, your policies, your procedures, everything that you do, and compare that to the standard and see if what you say you do matches the standard.
Yeah.
If that's the case and there's no issues, they then organise to send humans out to have a look at you doing the things you say you do, and to make sure you do what you say you do.
Yeah. And that's it. The more you say you're going to do, the more actually you could be building a rod for your own back. Because if you say you're going to do it, you actually got to do it. And this is where getting someone like yourself, and I'll come back to that word, practicable. What are the things that you can do, and what is the minimum height to ride, so that you are achieving your purpose without over bureaucratically constraining yourself?
That is the art.
That's the art.
That's
the
the
art.
And I wish it's not some sort of weird sales thing. Like, every organization is so different, and it is an auditor's job to find the answer. Now, there are some things that are mandatory, like you must document this thing.
Yeah.
Some of them it's not. So,
and that's why a ChatGPT safety policy doesn't work, because a ChatGPT safety policy will spit out 30 or 40 things that it says you should do. Yes, it's a good head start, but the second you say you're going to do them, you're actually making yourself potentially liable, because you're probably not going to do them if you take that kind of shortcut.
Yeah, correct. So from a practical perspective, my thing is, you've written something down. So fucking what? Like that saying. So if we go right back to the start of when someone is writing, this is something they can take away and go, you're doing your SWOT analysis. You've written down that the strength of your organization is your customer service. So fucking what? Well, you've got great customer service. Everyone thinks they've got great customer service. But if you really believe your organization is that good at fucking customer service, cool. What are you doing about it? How are you protecting that knowledge so that your competitor doesn't take your staff and now they've got the best customer service? So it's no good identifying a strength unless you're going to do something good. So you've identified a strength. What's the threat and opportunity for you? And you have to do something, and that's what ISO does. If you're going to find something in the context of your organization, such as great customer service, what are you doing about that? And I, as an auditor, should be able to follow that right through to leadership, to planning, to operations, to support, all the way through.
And ultimately, what we're building here is a mature, sophisticated entity, organization that is going to be, let's call it, procurement ready. That's going to be attractive and appealing to the big corporate partners that you want to work with. But ultimately, let's not forget about the other thing, that this now aids the value of the asset that you're building as a business for potentially exit. Now, mate, I'm gonna have to wrap. Mate, talk to you all about this stuff. Went on a lovely tangent, little reminisce down old Faithful Road there was. But mate, what's next on the agenda for you and Dyadic?
Yeah, so there's a few things in the pipeline. It started with just the three standard ticks: your quality, environmental, health, safety. Then got business continuity because that ties in with
Yep.
the previous profession.
Again, resilience as well,
Um, yeah, but we
redundancy.
taught a lot of nerd stuff in
Yeah.
computers and that sort of stuff. So cybersecurity, AI also as an ISO standard.
Yep.
I'm working with another company down in Brisbane who are not traditionally veteran or defence orientated, but cybersecurity is a big part of this.
Mm.
And so I'm helping them uplift the standards into a cyber platform. So you can get the platform, you pay the money, and then all the stuff will be there. And that's been a lot of work. That's like 10 months in the work.
Yeah.
But also specifically with DISP around that, because DISPs asks certain things, and while it reads good on paper, practically how does that apply? So if you're a Boeing, it works well. If you're a Dyadic, it doesn't like it. The burden is huge. So we're
Yeah.
working through that. But also the AS 9100 standard, so the Space, Aerospace and Defence standard, that is a more stringent quality standard for the aerospace space planes. You know, we would like to think that they hold themselves to a higher standard. So I've done the lead auditor training for that, but to be recognised as an aerospace auditor internationally, I have to do a test in America because it doesn't happen in Australia.
Mm.
And even though there's only currently 8 aerospace auditors in Australia, all the grants defence have not seen it as an important issue. So they don't
Not
want
yet,
to
hopefully.
fund a couple of $1,000s to get another one.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then trying to figure out a way to make it more accessible to more people. So now that the business has been running for a bit, we've already said it's a big cost. But something I want to look at is how can I reduce the cost? Is there a way that instead of going, this is, the 3 parts you've got to pay, or here's the deposit and then you owe the rest on completion, with normal consultancy, can I spread it over 12 months for them? And go, do you know what? This is the total cost, but let's just enter an agreement and you just pay this much per month. And then it's not such an upfront cost. But how all that's going to happen, I've got to speak to the experts. I'm just a dumb grunt. So I'll speak to
No,
my
mate.
bookkeeper and accountants and make sure I'm doing it the right way.
Mate, you're talking way too smart for a dumb grunt, that's for sure. So, mate, what I'm gonna wrap up with is just a little relation to how ISO fits into another sort of bit of military vernacular: current operations, future operations, and plans. So when I relate that to business, current operations is your revenue cycle. It's everything that you're doing to win another customer, to deliver that product, to get paid, to roster staff members. And it's sort of generally lasts between the 0 to 3 months mark. Too many business owners are constantly stuck in current operations, and they don't lift their eyes out to the horizon what the opportunities could be.
Yeah.
Future operations is 3 to 12 months away, and they are not things that involved in your revenue cycle. They're the things that if you don't start them or you don't do them today, they're not even going to come into reality for 3, 6, 9, 12 months and beyond. And obviously, I look at planning as being what happens 12 months and beyond. So if you're looking for bigger contracts and you want to get your business to a point of sophistication, then you've got to start looking at ISO. What are the actions you can take today? Because it's not going to fully come into effect for several months down the track. But when you want it to be in effect, you want it to be in your back pocket so you can win those jobs. And that's why, to anyone listening, get out of your revenue cycle, get out of the immediacy of just, this current operations mindset. Get in touch with Dave and have a chat about what your future in business is, and just to see if ISO is going to be a big part of that, because ultimately you may need it to win that game-changing, life-changing contract. And mate, we'll put
100%.
all Dyadics and your personal contact details around. Also, if you're in Townsville, Defence Industry Networking, get along, come along, say good day. Mate, thanks for your time today. I really appreciate you you sharing. And I'm about to get ready for lunch in the mess, which is whenever you're listening to this, it's an activity we do at 1 o'clock Wednesdays every Sydney time. Every Sydney
Mm.
time. That's our good words, mate. So look, Dave, appreciate you sharing your journey and sharing some raw stuff, but also congratulations on your transition into a great business.
No, I appreciate you taking the time. Hopefully someone out there can, find some benefit from it. And,
Yeah.
there's definitely no pressure. If anyone does want to reach out, I'm happy to have a chat and provide advice. If I'm not the right person, I'll know someone that is for them. And
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing that I know about Dave is he's not, how can I put this, greedy for the cash in terms of pushing you down a pathway that isn't right for you. He will work with you to create a plan that does it to preserve your cash flow and do it at the right time. And you can segment it and you can do it in phases and to get you ready for that. So I can't encourage you enough to get out there and give Dave New a chat. Mate, I'm going to wrap it there.
yep,
For anyone in the veteran business community, we don't care what rank you were, what service you were, whether you're a choco or full-time, whether you got 5, 6, 7 deployments like Dave's got, or whether you never had a trip away. But we're just people who served in uniform that are passionate about business and learning and sharing off each other. So get in touch. We're at www.veteranbc.com. My name's Pete Liston.